Great.
Beautiful. Yep.
I figured it out. Amazing. Okay. What time do we have? Can we start now?
Absolutely, you can start.
Okay, great. So, I'm just going to do we'll just do some brief introductions here. I'm Nina Herron. I'm a geologist at in the Energy Resources section of DGGS, which is the Alaska Division of Geological and Geophysical Surveys. I can say that really well because I say it all the time. And also giving this talk is Michael Hendricks, who is our chief of the Geologic Information Center, GIC, at DGGS, and Ali Steinleitner, who is a GIS analyst at GIC, but she's also recently a GIS analyst in our geothermal program. So it's pretty exciting. And we're here to discuss the accessibility of Alaska's geothermal data. And as you know, we all know geothermal data is the foundation of geothermal exploration and development. DGGS is a great repository and a generator of Alaska geothermal data. Our geothermal program at DGGS is now up and running under the leadership of John Eckelberger and the geothermal program manager, and also Marwa Mortes, our energy resources section chief. We're currently working with university and industry partners, and we'll continue to add, more data and interpretations. And the whole point of this, of DGS in the state, is to reduce risk and to support geothermal exploration. And by conducting these geothermal studies, and also, through providing easy access to this high quality geothermal data. So first, I'm going to talk about sort of what we have as far as geothermal data and kind of the history of it briefly. And then Mike will actually get into uh, the data and show you how it's organized. And I think he'll do some demos and show you how to access it. So wait till the end, as they say. So for the good stuff. This is a beautiful photo of Augustine. And that's being explored currently in Alaska. And DGGS did some field work here last summer. Marwan Mortes, I believe, took this photograph of Augustine. So yeah, so let me just start with this obligatory slide of how big Alaska is. Alaska is really big. Um, and not only is it really big, it has amazing, abundant, and diverse geothermal resources. So sometimes we forget how big Alaska is, even if you're just hanging around Fairbanks and Anchorage, and you're not out in the bush. But once you start flying around Alaska, you realize how huge it actually is. So currently, in Alaska, there's a number of surface expressions of geothermal, and they can be generally divided into three areas, but there are a number of geothermal hot springs outside of these areas. They're the interior. I don't know. Can you guys see my cursor here? Anyone? Okay. Um, there's the interior belt, central Alaska belt here, which were mostly from granitic sources. There's also, though, Pilgrim Hot Springs out here, which is close to Nome, which in the future, with the opening up of the Arctic, may be a major port. Also, uh, the Aleutian Arc contains a number of hot springs, and these extend all the way from, I think, Kananga is the farthest western hot springs. That's actually to the west of Adak. It goes all the way up through um, Mount Spur and then into the Wrangels. Also in Southeast Alaska, there's a number of geothermal springs that are related to granitic bodies. Okay. Okay, I wanted to show you a brief timeline of where our data came from. Um, so uh, this is actually a photograph at Tolovana Hot Springs showing the Northern Lights. So I think that's kind of a cool photo. So when we talk about uh, Alaska's geothermal. Of course, Native Alaskans, for thousands of years, were the first to utilize geothermal energy. And the first major report, comprehensive geothermal report, was all the way back in 1917. Waring and his colleagues at the USGS did an incredible job of documenting all the mineral springs in Alaska. And it's really an amazing study, especially considering it was done in 1917. We saw a really huge boom period in geothermal in Alaska from 1979 through 1992. DGGS, geothermal program at the time, and the University of Alaska Fairbanks Geophysical Institute conducted numerous detailed studies throughout Alaska. And this was primarily the work of Turner and Westcott at the Geophysical Institute, the GI, and GGGS's Motika, Nihilus, and Mormon. And these detailed geothermal data was collected, including a number of geochemistry and geophysics studies. So there was a lot of new data and primary data collected throughout the Aleutians, interior Alaska, Pilgrim Hot Springs, including Pilgrim Hot Springs and South Central Alaska. And one of the most important publications out of this was MP8, was the Geothermal Resources of Alaska. And something to remember about this, all this data is, of course, not digital, wasn't digital at the time, and they were static maps. So one of the major milestones of Alaska's geothermal was Chena Hot Springs generating electricity in 2006. So it continues to generate electricity. So following that, we saw a huge boom time again, and I think a lot of these are tied to the price of hydrocarbons increasing, and people seeing the need, especially the federal government seeing the need for more geothermal exploration. So from 2009 to basically 2014, there was a large boom time, and this included exploration at Mount Spur with Ormat explored and drilled at Mount Spur, and also exploration at Akutan Hot Springs and drilling, and Pilgrim exploration and drilling. And some of this was also done by, a lot of this work was done by ASAP2, the Alaska Center for Energy and Power. And DGGS also was part of a large state geothermal study. The state geothermal study was conducted with the American Association of State Geologists through a DOE funding that was administered by the Arizona Geological Survey. And that data went to the National Geothermal Data System. So I want to just briefly go here for a second. And this is what it created. It created the Alaska Geothermal Database. And what the whole point of this was for DGGS was to look at all that older static paper data, legacy data, and put it into digital form, and also new exploration data. And this was all placed in the National Geothermal Data System. We had 96 springs information, aqueous geochemistry information, geothermal wells, borehole temperature data, records from oil and gas wells. And volcanic events and fumaroles were also put in from the AVO data. AVO is the Alaska Volcano Observatory, which is in part of DGGS and also in part USGS and the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And they have an incredible website. If you get a chance, you should go look at that too. We also had put in earthquake events in here and some direct use sites. So what I kind of wanted to point out with this is some of the major exploration sites at that time and also now, actually today, but that's Chena Hot Springs, Pilgrim Hot Springs, Mount Spur, Augustine, Akutan, and Makushin. So all this data was put into the NGDS repository website. But after this time, we noticed that it was kind of difficult to access some of the data because funding was, after the DOE and fundings ended, there wasn't a lot of money to continue this work. And so we actually ended up creating our own Geothermal Sites of Alaska web app. It was pretty limited though, because we really didn't have the funding to put a lot of information into it. So hot springs data was put into it, though. Yeah, so during this time, we really realized that we needed a more robust web app after this. So in 2004, 2016, the DGGS geothermal program was reestablished and it became operational. So in 2000, last year, we uh, created the DGGS geothermal resource web app, and in that, additional data was added. Um, okay, so let's continue. So these are the currently available data layers in that web app. There's geothermal hot springs, which includes temperature, in some cases flow rates, use, and photos. There's also geothermal well locations and also current geothermal leases. Volcanic vents are also included from the Alaska Volcano Observatory, and we've also included quaternary faults. Um, we saw the need to include a lot of energy infrastructure information into it. So those are all included. There are services from other web apps, and that includes like electrical transmission lines, things like that. So if we these are interactive web apps. So if you click on a point, this is just an example from Pilgrim Hot Springs in the Seward Peninsula. And this is north of Nome here. Nome is down here. Um, so if you click on the hot springs, it's interactive, so a pop-up will come up and you could see the temperature of the hot springs, the location, the analysis types that's available. But there's other things you can also see. In some cases, we also have photos that go directly to the DGGS photo database. And the DGGS photo database has photos from all over Alaska. It's pretty incredible. You could search for different topics. But this is one from Pilgrim. Absolutely beautiful area. I've never been out there, but I always wanted to go. And also on this, on the web app is geothermal wells, and this is an example from Pilgrim Hot Springs, showing you the geothermal wells. And if you can also see a list of the wells here. And we hope to have more information from those wells too. So we're currently working on getting additional data layers into this web app in the geothermal resources of Alaska. And one of the lower hanging fruits we have a great deal of data is in geochemistry. We have aqueous geochemistry, gas geochemistry, and rock geochemistry. And we've also had some Powell Cumming diagrams made up where we can look at this kind of the source of the fluids from the geochemistry. So this is just, I think this is an example from Pilgrim, and these will be available shortly. We also have additional layers that we would like to put in soon is the bottom hole temperatures from oil and gas wells and bottom hole temperatures from other wells, mostly USGS wells and some other just other wells in the area. We'd also like to tie some of the geothermal temperature logs to this and put these in also. And this is an example of a I think this is from an Akutan well. We also have core descriptions and geologic maps that are relevant to geothermal. An additional big part of ongoing research that we have available as far as the geothermal program also is geophysical data. And this is just an example of a new publication from Pilgrim Hot Springs that was done by our great geophysicists at DGGS, Eric Peterson and Logan Fuso, and our former geophysicist, Abraham Iman. And this is a Pilgrim Hot Springs airborne electromagnetic survey that was done on the Seward Peninsula. And there's a great 3D model showing the low resistivity here at Pilgrim in the hot area. It's really pretty cool. If you can take a look at this publication in our DGS Pubs page. We also have taken new LiDAR. This is an example from Augustine, and I think Mike will show this, what can be done with this too in a little bit. And we're planning on taking more LiDAR and more geophysics physics and have it available. So I think Mike is going to take over right now. And Mike, I could just continue the slides if you'd like to talk, or you could just, I could unshare.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be better if I share my screen because I'm going to go flip back and forth between the demos and the
Okay,
slides.
that's good.
So,
Could you, I could share at the end of yours then too. I'm
yeah,
going to
you
stop
can share.
sharing.
We'll share back. So let me share my screen. All right. Theoretically, it's showing it right now, huh? Can you see it? Is it coming through?
Yeah, I think, actually, I gotta,
Yeah, it's clear.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fully.
All right. Wonderful. So,
You might want to
yeah,
make
so
it full screen, Mike, so people can make
it
it
is full
bigger.
screen. Well,
Okay,
I mean, I have to swip back and forth between my demos, so
okay,
I'm not going to
okay.
put it in presentation mode because that's challenging. Um, So again, I'm Mike Hendricks. I am with the Geologic Information Center. It's a group here within DGGS that our focus is, supporting the geologist in all the various projects, geothermal of which is one of them within the energy program. So we have IT personnel, GIS, and publication support that drive a lot or the vast majority of all the data and services and productions and publications that we do. And here at DGGS, we place a high degree of effort on vetted publications and the publication process where reviewed and scientifically correct data, in addition to generic information that we provide and then services and apps that we make. We have huge volumes of data that we store in petabytes. We distribute, 45 terabytes last year to of various apps or data to users, and we have published over the last 100 years 5,000 publications, and we track all the USGS publications from Alaska as well within our database, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And the it's not exactly a geothermal thing, but the Fraser's Institute for they do a survey of mining companies around the world, and Alaska's database and access to its data is always rated very high, either number one or number two, over the last 10 to 15 years. So that's fantastic, and we put a lot of effort into that. So what I'm going to do today is take us through and provide you eventually with this slide deck a whole set of links of things and demo some of the information that's there and kind of take you through the myriad of ways you can access data and look up stuff regarding geothermal information. In the dggs.alaska.gov, our website is kind of our first stop on such things. Let's get this to be bigger. There we go. And this is where you can find all sorts of information, news and highlights. Our annual report has also always got some good information. And specifically to what we're talking about today within our energy resources section, we have, see all the other various things we do, but the geothermal energy program here. This is kind of the one-stop hub site page that we are developing. It's currently just a website with various links and things. We're going to be working over the next year to uh, uh, update this to and or supplement this with some additional content and kind of technology to make it a little more interactive and link to some of our GIS data. But as of right now, this is where you can find, John is our primary contact for the program. It has a link to the website, or excuse me, the web app that Nina mentioned. We'll show you that here in a moment. Plus, it has a bunch of other information about geothermal and links to various things. Not high science stuff, but we just recently published a nice information circular on geothermal energy in Alaska here, and you can look that up and access that. And then you can, and then the web app that Nina talked about has a little splash screen, and then here we go. We are in the process of updating this into a updated kind of behind the scenes, plus some additional data availability and things. And as Nina mentioned, you can go in here, look up hot springs, get information about its temperature, and click a citation and get back to our publication citation for that. Where did we get this information? It's all in there. And as mentioned, we can go to link to our photo database and access our information there. And we can also turn on a few other layers. These are the wells that Nina mentioned. A lot of them are underneath other hot springs, so you might have to turn them off. There's all the wells at Pilgrim, which is where the majority of them are that we have, but there's a few others around the state. The location of the geothermal leases that are on Alaska right now, which there's only a few. We have here in Augustine and up here by, where did it go? Up here by Spur, or kind of by the Chakatma area right there. We're actually flying some geophysical data over that area this summer. I'll show you that from our geophysics website here in a moment. And we also, just for general information, as Nina mentioned, we're bringing in a bunch of other data that is potentially of interest to users, and you can turn on and off various things you might want to add from this long list of things, depending on if you're interested in sawmills and geothermal. Probably not, but it is there if you wish. So that's the web app that we currently have, and we will keep adding more data. And like Nina said, the goal is when we click the hot springs to be able to have some additional geochemistry and other information associated with that hot springs, as opposed to just generally we have the temperature right now. So let's go back to our list of things to do. So here's our website. We looked at the specific program hub page. One other thing with the program page is we have our photos, we have our bibliography that we're working on, which is really linked also to this project documentation. And this describes the geothermal energy program in a little more of a data-centric view. It has a list of publications associated with this program, and you can see that information circular fact sheet I just showed you is in there. A couple of other publications over the years. And then related publications is the list of publications within our publication system that have a geothermal tag associated with them. And one of the things our goal is over the next year is to provide a vetted list of high, medium, and low, or something to that effect, validity to geothermal. Just because it has a geothermal tag, sometimes it's kind of, not overly geothermal, or something that is a very high value geothermal publication. So we can provide that to you and tell you, hey, these are the first ones to look at versus lower priority ones. So what we have to go through there and tag all that and get that updated. But right now you can get the big list, and you can download this list as a CSV and get all that data. And very quickly, in the next month, this will be click a button and it'll give you this in a citation as a PDF that you can pull into a document and use for more of a human readable view of all that. So that's all super handy. All right, so there is that. And back, like I just talked about those publications, so you can also just kind of roll your own looking for publications in our publications search. So basically what I just showed you is checking the keyword geothermal and searching for the publications, and you'd get them all. I'm going to also bring in uh, a author that I happen to know has a number of publications that are pretty high value for geothermal, particularly over Pilgrim Hot Springs area. And you get the list of those. And for every one of our publications, this was LiDAR over Pilgrim Hot Springs. Here is a number of other things. And uh, sometimes these publications you can download directly from us. Sometimes they're in an outside agency. And we track the thousands and thousands of publications associated with Alaska through this system. So you can always go here, get information. Stu Sites here at DGGS manages all of this. And we are in the process of developing a web app that shows the locations of all these publications. It's tricky because a lot of them aren't specifically to a specific area. They're kind of generic information. So we're still working through the interface with that. But we do have a map version of that I will show you here in a little bit. So that's a resource that you can use to find data and publications. And our philosophy is, data, the raw data that's associated with work, we publish as a publication with a generic, as generic of a file format as possible. Typically, if it's just point data or lab data, it's a CSV file, and to make it machine readable and with metadata, and to make it, a good, trusted scientific piece of information. And with that, those publication data, we build services and web apps and other things available to make it look pretty for the public. Now to geologic mapping itself, there is not a lot of geologic maps specifically focused on geothermal information at this point. But just as a note, we have a whole geologic mapping system here where we publish a number of maps each year. And we're in a big project to get older data converted into a modern standard. And that standard that the USGS developed with the state geologist is called GEMS. It's a geologic mapping schema. We have an AKGEMS schema, and we have all sorts of documentation and information about that schema. So if you get any modern map data from us, it will be in that standard, and this is where you can find all of that. And you can go to a product called the Digital Data Series 24, and that is a repository of all the maps currently available. And we're about to publish a new snapshot with a lot more data in it. And the last one we have is 24 November and has about 80 maps over Alaska. And we are in the process of converting Augustine, some older Augustine maps into the modern standard. In fact, here is the ArcPro project right now where we're working on getting this map. The colors aren't set or anything yet, into vector data that you can use for all sorts of things. Okay, so that is our geologic mapping. And again, we are actively working on particularly the Augustine area. Geophysics data, you can also get geophysical data, magnetic, electromagnetic, radiomagnetic, gravity data. And for all over Alaska, we have Logan and Eric who work that program, and all sorts of ways to get that data, download that data. And we have an interactive map that I will demonstrate here in a little bit that allows you to view that data and also show where there is some collection happening over some geothermal interest areas. This summer, that should be out over the next year. So geophysical data, this is where you can find all of that and access all sorts of other information. All right, back to our list. So then we also down in Anchorage have our Geologic Materials Center, the GMC. And the GMC, just like we are the Geologic Information Center, they are the Geologic Materials Center. So they have a huge warehouse down in Anchorage that has all sorts of rock and various other geologic things that you can access and view. You can visit it, you can talk to them. You can also look at their inventory, and they have a database search, all sorts of ways to search for this, but we're going to do this super simple and just say geothermal. We don't have a lot of tagged geothermal data. We have about 730 cores. There's an error right here. There's one up in the north end. Really, it comes down to from geothermal data, we have Makushan area. And it'll tell you Makushan volcano geothermal data. It gives you all sorts of information about it. You can contact the GMC to even go there, look at the core, do what you're going to do with. And also of interest, we are implementing, or I don't know, implementing, or getting set up and starting to use a hyperspectral scanner at the GMC that could be of interest to people. They're currently getting that finalized and set up and starting production for doing hyperspectral analysis of core. And in addition to the GMC, we here at DGGS are integrated with the Alaska Volcano Observatory. They have the AVO and DGGS work closely together. Their web interface is kind of their own, and their database is they have their own separate database with all sorts of information. You have a lot of it's focused on warning for ash and all of that, but they do all sorts of other stuff. They have a database that you can access, all sorts of great information. They even have images, like we have a photo database. They have tons and tons of photos, like Augustine, for example. If you just search for Augustine, it says there's 1,113 pictures. From a non-geologist myself and a non a volcano person, it just seems like they're taking the picture of the volcano over and over again. But I know kind of generally what they're trying to do. So there's a resource as well. So those are kind of the website access to data. Our websites kind of get information about the geothermal program and data associated with that, and linkages to our geologic maps, geophysics data, materials down in Anchorage, and the kind of special volcano observatory. Now kind of switch gears a tad to resources for you on kind of the data specific level of things. The state of Alaska has a GIS data portal. They've just updated that, or kind of rolled out a new version of it. And at akgeoportal.alaska.gov. And this is the one-stop shop for data over Alaska. And it's being continuously populated. And the way it's populated is through keywords and linkages to existing data. So for example, our data here at DGGS, much of that gets collaborated up into the DNR and then up into this site, and it's available for you to view here. So more and more of things can be found directly here, though our connections currently are not perfect. So for example, in the data library, we can go over into the data library, do a search. We don't specifically at the state level have a geothermal theme. You can just do a search here at the top for geothermal, and it'll give you a number of items that are tagged as geothermal. If you should happen to find data that's not tagged as geothermal that you think it is, and you want to help the state out, you can contact us and we update that, and it'll show up for the rest of the world to see properly. So for example, we can find our geothermal sites of Alaska web map and the web app right here. So that app I just showed you shows up in here. You can click it, and it should here in a moment take us to that web app. And there it is in all its glory. Okay, So that is the state level. You can access all of that. We also have a geoportal, specifically a DGGS. Like I said, a lot of this gets collaborated upwards into the state, but you can go into our site and notice on the featured content right at the beginning is that geothermal web app. And you could also search for geothermal data and specifically find data services if you're trying to access that directly into your GIS and build your own. So for example, I can look at the hot springs, and if I want to just look at that, in fact, if I want to open it as a 3D view of Alaska, it should be bringing up our hot springs. I didn't click the scenes earlier to see it should work, but why wouldn't it? I don't know. But we can see it in 3D, but there's all the invisible hot springs. So I'm not sure why they're not showing up. Let's show it as a regular map. And there they are. So I'll have to figure out why that didn't work. And notice this isn't the web app. This is you, and you can make your own stuff and add your own things however you want. For example, I happen to know that we just recently added a scanned map of that Augustine Island that we are converting into digital data, and we can see that there, and we've added that data. So, those of you who work with GIS and data like that generally know how that works. But let's go. And so there you go. So there is how you can access that kind of data and use it in various ways. And since we're also looking, we can add the SkyHub Augustine elevation data, and that can get added in here as well and used for whatever you wish. And you can make a 3D scene of that as well. So those are these data hubs. There's the state level one, the DGGS specific one, which typically has a little bit more. And then we have within these portals are various web maps and apps, and we have a way to access those that is not directly through those hubs, but through our web pages. We have an interactive web maps and apps page at DGGS, and that has a linkage of all kinds of web apps that we found are of interest to people. And the list of ones that seem to be particularly relevant to this group are the Map Index web app, the Seismic Hazards web app, a Geophysical survey web app, and of course the one I've already showed you, the geothermal one. So let's show a few of those. So the Map Index allows you to search for publications that are specifically maps. And the web app initially comes up, says there's 681 meeting this criteria. That is, and let's turn off. We in green shows which are publications from the USGS, and we have a couple of things we can do to scale. I'm going to turn off some of these filters that get rid of these giant statewide things, and even turn it so all the filters that shows we have about 4,100 maps in our database. And I'm going to put this date range back. Well, turn the date range off. And we are going to say, hey, I want to look for maps that I'm going to turn this filter on, and we're going to look for geothermal. So there's not a lot, but like I said earlier, specific maps to geothermal in here. But, you can click on one, it'll give you the information. It'll take you to the URL where that information is. And this is that MP8, Geothermal Resources of Alaska. Here's a shapefile of some of that data. And then if you really want to see the old map, and had a lot of stuff in its margins and a lot of extra information, a lot of that stuff is all baked into our apps and our stuff, and things that aren't, we're working on getting it integrated. Oh, I didn't mean to show this right now, but here is that Pilgrim Hot Springs geophysics data, volumetric data that's over the Pilgrim Hot Springs that we were just showing, and that allows us to kind of view and look at this geophysics data. Whoops, and I zoomed in way too far. Okay, so that's Map Index, and that's a great resource. We also have a seismic hazards of Alaska map that shows where there is the faults in Alaska. We are currently very soon to be publishing an updated version of this and a new web interface. Our seismic group is getting that data ready, and so that'll be fantastic, and it has been updated significantly. And that data is available will be available for you to access either directly as a service, download it, or to view in various applications and things. And then there is the Geophysics Survey web app itself that we showed you, where there's kind of the primary page of looking for information. This has data allows you to visualize. It takes a little bit to load up data within the state, but it also allows you to find out what were currently planned boundaries. So like I had mentioned, in the Jumbo Dome area, the Hatcher Pass area, and then that area we were just looking at, the Chama area, have some geophysics, or excuse me, geothermal focus on them, as well as there's a lot of collections going out here in this area. This is focused on minerals, but that might be good for some of the geothermal. There's going to be some geophysics out here on the Seward Peninsula as well. So you can go in here and change. One of the things we'll look at is, hey, let's look at the, you can look, this is the data set. Let's turn off this. And the data set I was showing you in 3D. Oh, come on, baby. Is we can, and this web app is actually being updated as well. Next month, we should have a updated version of this. And there we go. That's where it is. So there's viewing the deep resistivity of that Pilgrim's Hot Spring area. And here is, you can change the view automatically with the web app. And also any one of these, you can click on it. It'll give you information and get you to the actual publication, and you can access the data in all sorts of different formats. So that's all very nice. All right, my last item on here of things that are probably useful to you is, I alluded already to elevation a little bit, and Nina mentioned it. The state of Alaska has a new elevation one-stop shop called SkyHub. And that SkyHub will allow you to see all of the data that is either planned or available over Alaska. And there's a lot of Alaska that doesn't have LiDAR, but it is way more than there used to be. So that's all great. Specifically to that Augustine data, we can, this is where, we can do some searches for it, but since I already know where it is, for that data set, it gives you ability to look at some data. You can download the data directly and use it how you wish to. And you can also access those services. And those services is what I showed you earlier. Is all I did is copied the service link and then integrated that into my GIS directly. And here's kind of a thumbnail of generally what it looks like. So the SkyHub will let you see what's all available. Um, and there's all sorts of searches just for LiDAR for imagery, all sorts of ways you can go about it and do what you're going to do with it. Okay, so that's the Sky Hub and how you can access all of that data. And oh, the one of the items I actually failed to show you was our photo database on the on our link. It's on that interactive page. Here's our photos, and we can search for geothermal. And same idea, we want to show a whole lot. Those are photos that are geothermal. You can also go in here. Let's take off geothermal and go to Augustine and draw a box around Augustine, and it'll show us all the Augustine photos that we have. Whether in this particular case, whether they're geothermally tagged or not, it is of that location. So that can be of some help to you. Okay, so that is the demo of kind of the things we have going on. Oops. And last for me, and then Nina can close it up. These, from a data perspective, are what we are focusing on. And when I say we, it's the geothermal program, the GIC supporting this particular project, and specifically Allie, who's listening in on here today, who is recently kind of got a position to spend a good chunk, 50% of her time supporting this program. Will be focusing on assisting getting a lot of this up and helping with some of the technicalities. So Nina alluded to a few of these things, but from my perspective of overseeing data is that well data, various bottom hole temps, temp logs, core descriptions, other things to get as much of that online available so someone can download it as a published item, and then you can see it as pop-ups or downloads and things within the web apps. So that'll be wonderful. Geochemistry data, to have that data available in one form or the other directly from the website or from services so somebody can access that, and to publish that as a data set that is then a lot of that stuff was published, but it's in various places, a little hard, but we're going to kind of republish that so it is in a one-stop shop for that kind of thing. Like I mentioned, the more photos we can get tagged properly or added into there are, oops, I should have been looking at that. I guess Nina's helping out. The Augustine volcano, like I mentioned, where there's actually 2 geologic maps that are being converted into the modern format that then will be available for things. I showed you kind of early work on one of those. And then we are going to be publishing new geophysical surveys, like I showed you, that are being collected over the area. So there's a whole bunch of just data specifics, and then kind of user experience and kind of making this all a little bit easier to work with we'll be from the behind the scenes updating kind of how the web app gets served, and that's not too much your concern, but that's a lift that we have to do. And then additional content and change, whatever usability we might want. The update the data hub site to make it more linked to services and data. There's a way within our GIS world that we can do that should be helpful, and Hallie will be working with the geothermal program to make that happen, and linkage to that into the state hub site and our DGGS website and all of that. Like I mentioned, curate that list of geothermal pubs so you can get the high priority items easy, so you don't have to sort through 400 documents. And then also on the note of apps and stuff, create 2D and 3D visualizations of key focused areas, Augustine, Spur, Pilgrim, etc., to get that, so people can explore and see the data via web apps. And we have developed our infrastructure here to kind of support that type of thing because it's not just the geothermal program that wants to kind of add some of that in. It's all sorts of ways to do that now. Alrighty, so that's all I got. I guess you can ask a question now or later, or we can let maybe Nina
Hey,
finish it
Mike,
up. And
okay, I'm going to just share that last slide. I think this one. Yeah.
I
Sharing.
guess I could share it too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can
it looks like yours is starting.
can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So guys, can you see that now? Is that
Yes.
okay? So yeah, I just wanted to conclude, and as you can see, Mike did a incredible job of showing everything we have. It's kind of mind-boggling how much data we have, and there's really so many interesting ways to see this data. And I really encourage everyone to use this data and contact us if you have issues or if you want to figure out how to use the data more. The geothermal program is up and running, and there'll be we're partnering with university and industry partners, and we're collecting this really critical geology and geophysical data for to reduce risk in geothermal exploration. So please, I really encourage everyone to use this data and to contact us if you have any questions. But if anyone has any questions right now, we will take them.
Want to say most people are on mute. So if you guys look to the left corner, you may see yourself on mute if you want to ask a question or I know I really appreciate you guys doing this today. I'm really looking forward to publishing this on YouTube and on the Alaska Rig page. And anything like the presentation itself, if you want me to publish the slides somewhere, I'm very excited. It's a lot of really great information.
Yeah, that would be
Yep.
great. And I put some of the links
Yes, I
um,
saw
in the
them.
chat,
Yes,
so if people want to look at those links.
that's
Yeah,
What
fantastic.
what we'll do also is we actually publish presentations. So there'll be a link and ability to download the day here. We can probably do that here within a day or two.
That's
And that
fantastic. So
ends up
Travis
in
did
like
have a question.
yeah.
Travis, do you want to ask or do you want me to?
Oh, I can ask you. Yeah, I was doing some just kind of scoping work and looking at some of the seismic zones, and it seems like there's large zones in the Ramparts and Manly and Minto areas, kind of in central Alaska,
Yes.
northeast
I
of
mean, the simple
Fairbanks.
answer is yes.
Are they?
The,
Yeah, I was just
the
wondering if there's any additional information on actual faults, either interpreted or on the surface or through geophysical data that would be a little more specific than just a ellipse.
yes, I honestly don't know the details, but I know the the mysterious ellipses have always been kind of interesting. So I believe there's more. They're not going to be in the new one, and I believe there's actual good information in there instead of just hey, something happened here.
Yeah, and I think
Mhm.
Neely Sims at DGGS, if you want to contact her, she probably has a lot of information on that. I think she could just completed her dissertation on that, I think, in
Yeah,
that area.
and we are, like I said, we are going to be publishing the new data here very soon. And
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's great news.
Yeah, this is Marlon Travis. Yeah, I think the original intent back when Rich Kaler had those zones was to recognize there are areas where just have significant concentrations of diffuse seismicity, but maybe not a recognizable surface fault like the Kantishna and Minto and places like that. And so that was intended to try to capture that. But yeah, as Nina said, I think Neely and Barrett are going to have some updates on how that's going to be treated going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Marwan.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you.
Well, thanks everyone, and thank you for listening.
Yeah. And thank you for setting this up, Cam. And yeah, I'm really privileged to be part of this team, as well as a champion of our Alaska rig. And it's also great to see some state survey people in there. We have a geothermal accelerator project under the National Association of State Energy Organizations, I guess it is, and I think I'll make sure they're aware of this as well. And USGS is doing a lot of work up here, and like Eric Burns, Shaw, Horowitz. So thanks to you for joining in too.
That's really cool. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and stop the meeting, and I'll take all these notes and put them in a Word document. And yeah, we'll get things taken care of. You guys have a great day, and thank you again for joining us.
Nice work, guys.
Thank you.